In a quiet suburban neighborhood, one homeowner finds himself in an unexpected battle against the unreasonable HOA president, Lisa. This conflict ignites when Lisa, armed with a seemingly endless list of rules, targets the homeowner for minor infractions, turning his peaceful life into a saga of absurdity. I was halfway through a bacon sandwich, lounging in my boxers with a mug of coffee, when a beige minivan roared across my side yard and screeched to a halt right on my wildflower patch. The driver, a woman in zebra-striped sunglasses, hopped out, waved at me like I was her personal parking attendant, and shouted, "Lisa said this is fine." I froze, mouthful of bread, staring at the dented hood now flattening what used to be my uncle's butterfly haven. Rage boiled up, and in that moment I knew this was war. 6 months earlier, I'd moved into my late Uncle Tom's property, a charming farmhouse on the edge of a prime HOA neighborhood. Tom left me everything: the house, the barn, the fields, and a scrappy lot next door I planned to turn into a workshop someday. For now, it was a meadow of waist-high grass, wildflowers, and a couple of garden gnomes Tom swore kept the deer away. The neighbors seemed fine at first, all cut from the same suburban cloth, waving in sync, hedges trimmed with surgical precision. But then I met Lisa, the HOA president. She had a smile so tight it looked like it hurt, and when she showed up with a welcome basket that reeked of air freshener and superiority, I knew trouble was coming. She gushed about how glad she was that a real homeowner had moved in after Tom. But the second she mentioned community compliance, I shut the door. For a while, things were quiet, save for the occasional HOA flyer taped to my door. Gardening tips, yard conformity rants, and other nonsense printed on pastel paper with Comic Sans and menace. Then the cars started showing up, not in driveways, not on the street, on my lot. At first I thought they were lost, but when tire tracks gouged my grass and I found burger wrappers in the brush, I realized this was no accident. I caught the first guy I saw, a visor-wearing dad with a casserole dish, and asked why he was parked there. "Lisa told us to use the overflow lot," he said like it was obvious. "I told him it was private property." He squinted, shrugged, and walked off without even a sorry. That evening, I found a sign staked into my lot: HOA guest parking, temporary in garish Comic Sans, complete with a duct-taped smiley face. I ripped it out and tossed it. 3 hours later, another appeared. Lisa was unhinged. I tried reasoning with her. She just smiled and said, "You're not using it, and this keeps the street clear. It's practically common land." I told her it was mine legally. She suggested a shared usage agreement. I was done talking. Over the next week, the invasion grew. Cars parked inches from my fence. One guy changed a diaper on my grass like it was a park. Another hosted what looked like a tailgate party, complete with folding chairs and a Bluetooth speaker blaring 90s hits. My meadow was becoming a suburban dump. I put up a private property, no parking sign. By morning, it was flipped with "just kidding" scrawled on the back. Then I came home to an oil stain, black and slick, soaking the roots of Tom's prized native plants. That was it. I marched to Lisa's house, banged on her door, and got her fake shocked face in a flour-dusted apron. "It's my land," I started, trying to keep my voice steady, but she sighed. "Let's not make this about territory. It's about cooperation." I walked away, fury choking my words. That night, over a beer and a legal pad, I planned my revenge. I dug into zoning laws, property lines, and easements. Tom's lot was mine, free of HOA control. I printed satellite maps, pinned them to a corkboard like a detective, and drove to a supply store that smelled of diesel and pine. I loaded my truck with trail cams, spike mats, motion lights, and a no trespassing sign that meant business. For 24 hours, I hammered, wired, and crawled through grass. I hid spike mats under turf, rigged cams to my phone, and tested the setup with a wheelbarrow. The spikes hissed like vipers. Perfect. My meadow was now a fortress, and I couldn't wait for the first trespasser. At 8:13 a.m., a silver Audi rolled in, hesitated, then parked smack on a spike mat. The hiss was glorious. The driver, a guy in slacks and a Bluetooth headset, leapt out, hopping like the ground was molten. I sipped my coffee, watching the trail cam feed in cinematic glory. He called someone, and soon Lisa stormed up in a lime green windbreaker, radiating fury, not at me, but at the universe for exposing her lie. I stepped outside, casual as ever. "What did you do?" she shrieked. "Secured my property," I said. "It's not a parking lot." She claimed I couldn't trap community land. I pointed to my sign, half hidden but legal. "Private property, spike strips in use. Trespassers assume all risk." A QR code linked to a folder I'd named Lisa's Parking Saga. Her face twisted as she spotted it. "I'll report you," she spat. "Please do," I said. "The cops love footage." She sent a tow truck and tried to block my cams, but every pixel was saved. That afternoon, an HOA letter arrived, fining me $1,200 for unsafe conditions and disrupting harmony. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. My lawyer friend Sarah called it adorable and told me to keep documenting. I doubled down, adding voice-activated cams and floodlights. That night, a pickup crept in, lights off. The driver laid cardboard over the spikes. My intercom blared, "You are trespassing." He bolted, knocking over Lisa's latest sign. I labeled the clip "Cardboard Idiot" and saved it. Lisa taped another fine to my door, $2,500 for psychological hostility. Sarah confirmed my lot was zoned independently, untouchable by the HOA. Neighbors started watching. Some peeked through blinds. Others gave quiet nods. One guy flashed a thumbs up. I added floodlights that lit the lot like a stadium. 3 nights later, my cams caught 2 figures, one with a flashlight, dragging plywood to cover my spikes. I hit the speaker. "Smile for the cops." They ran. One tripped hard. My heart raced with excitement when my trail cam finally caught a trespasser trying to sneak onto my property. It was a moment of pure mastery. Everything I'd prepared for was working exactly as planned. As I reviewed the footage, a wave of satisfaction washed over me. The spike mats, the motion sensors, the cameras, they weren't just paranoid overkill. They were justice. But the victory was short-lived. Lisa stormed onto the scene not long after, her face twisted in frustration and disbelief. "This is just a misunderstanding," she insisted, waving her hands in exaggerated dramatic motions like she was auditioning for a soap opera. I couldn't help but chuckle at how absurd she looked trying to dismiss cold, hard evidence. "You can't just set traps like that," she snapped, her voice rising with indignation that only made the whole thing feel even more ridiculous. I just raised my coffee and took a sip, savoring the irony. It wasn't just about protecting my land anymore. It was about standing up to a self-imposed authority who thought rules didn't apply to her. This comical standoff was more than a petty feud. It was a battle of wills, and I wasn't backing down. The footage showed a pink hoodie, Lisa's niece, the HOA's golden child. I saved it as Lisa's Night Raiders. As the conflict escalated, the fines started rolling in like clockwork. One after another, Lisa and the HOA bombarded me with accusations more ludicrous than the last. I was hit for excessive wildflower growth, then unapproved lawn ornaments, and even a charge that basically accused me of emotional landscaping. It felt like a cartoon villain had taken over City Hall. But something shifted. The neighbors, once silent and peeking from behind blinds, began to speak up. One by one, they told me their own stories, Flower pots banned, kids' chalk art scrubbed off sidewalks, dog leashes measured with rulers. The shared frustration brought us together. I wasn't just fighting for my own rights anymore. I was fighting for all of us. That solidarity lit a fire in me. With each ridiculous fine, my frustration turned into determination. I struck back with paperwork, pulling county records that proved my lot's independence. Sarah drafted a letter citing laws and demanding Lisa cease her trespassing. I sent copies to the HOA board and the sheriff. Lisa retaliated with a notice accusing me of emotional terrorism and weaponized lighting. It was laughable. Then Richard, Lisa's neighbor, visited. Over coffee, he spilled. Lisa terrorized the neighborhood for years, fining flower pots, banning kids' chalk art. I grinned. She just crashed. The next day, my cams caught Lisa herself hammering a sign claiming temporary event parking, HOA code 3.2.1. I recorded it, swapped her sign for one on a concrete pole. Trespassing is a crime. Cameras active. I dug in. I wasn't going to let some HOA dictator steamroll our right to live in peace. I decided it was time for action. Real action. I pulled together everything I had: photos, video clips, county zoning maps, and testimonies from neighbors who'd had enough. I even printed out screenshots from my trail cams and labeled them like a detective in a crime show. Lisa's night raiders, cardboard idiot, and temporary event parking were just a few of the file names. Then I called Sarah, my friend and a lawyer, who confirmed what I suspected. My lot was zoned independently. The HOA had zero claim over it. Empowered by that knowledge, I prepared for war. Word spread fast. People who had been quiet now offered to stand beside me at the next HOA meeting. The board meeting was tense. I walked in with a folder thick enough to stop a bullet and a calmness I hadn't felt in weeks. As I laid everything out, photos, videos, witness statements, you could hear a pin drop. The gas came like clockwork as the truth sank in. Lisa had been operating way out of line. I explained, my land's not yours. Every fine, every trespass, every sign, illegal. One board member, Ellen, turned to the others and said, if this is true, Lisa overstepped. Richard, one of the quieter neighbors who had always smiled and waved, stood up and said, we need to investigate. Ellen nodded. Seconded. The vote passed 4-1, with Lisa the only dissenting voice, her glare so sharp it could have cut glass. She didn't give up easily, of course. A few days later, some guy from code enforcement showed up, claiming my cameras and spike mats were illegal. I handed him my documents, showed him the footage, and even offered him a cup of coffee. He flipped through my paperwork, chuckled, and said, great camera placement. Case closed. Then came the real twist. The county fined Lisa for land misuse and opened a fraud investigation into her abuse of power. The HOA board didn't waste time. They voted her out. And just like that, the neighborhood exhaled. I pulled up the spikes and replanted the wildflowers Tom had loved. I added benches and walking paths, turning the lot into a quiet sanctuary. When a developer came offering a fortune, I sold the land, but with one condition: no HOA involvement. A cedar cabin went up where cars used to park illegally. The new owners were respectful. No signs, no garbage, just peace. Lisa drove by once after that, silent behind her sunglasses, hands clenched around the steering wheel like it was the last thing tethering her to this world. Later that night, I uploaded a private video titled, How to Topple an HOA Tyrant, for Sarah and Richard. The HOA elected a new president, fair, reasonable, and chill. And soon pink flamingos sprouted in front yards like rebellions in plastic form. My cameras still run. My sign still stands. Trespassers will be posted online. The war was over, but I'd learned a lesson I'd never forget. Silence isn't consent. With proof, planning, and a little defiance, no one, not even a suburban tyrant, can steal your peace. Thank you for watching Work Story. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of resilience and justice. See you in the next one.